Tae-min sat alone in his workshop on Nexus 7, the largest trade station in the galaxy. Around him were thousands of data chips, old books, and cultural artifacts from Earth. He was doing what he loved most: preserving human history for the future. The door opened with a soft hiss. Hyun-woo walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He was Tae-min's best friend and had known him for 10 years. "You're still here?" Hyun-woo asked, shaking his head. "It's past midnight." Tae-min looked up from his work. "These files won't organize themselves. I found some old music recordings from the 21st century. They're beautiful." Hyun-woo set down 1 cup near Tae-min's workstation. "You know what else is beautiful? The new medical officer. Ji-woo. She asked about you today." Tae-min sighed. He had heard this many times before. "I'm not interested. And we're gone. And we're gone. And we're gone." "You said that about the last 5 women I tried to introduce you to," Hyun-woo said. "What's wrong with you? Don't you want someone to share your life with?" "I have my work," Tae-min replied simply. Hyun-woo sat down on a storage crate. "You're 32 years old, Tae-min. You spend every day alone in this room, organizing files about people who died centuries ago. Don't you want something real? Something alive?" Tae-min picked up his coffee and took a sip. It was still hot, just the way he liked it. "This is real to me. Every piece of human culture I save is a victory. When humans first left Earth, we almost lost everything. Our languages, our art, our stories. Someone has to remember. I know your work is important," Hyun-woo said gently. "But you can do important work and still have a personal life. Look at me and So-ra. We both have demanding jobs, but we make it work." So-ra was Hyun-woo's wife. She worked as a pilot, flying cargo ships between stations. They had been married for 3 years and seemed very happy together. "You're different," Tae-min said. "You need people. I don't." Hyun-woo stood up, looking frustrated. "Everyone needs people, Tae-min. That's what makes us human." After Hyun-woo left, Tae-min returned to his work, but his friend's words stayed in his mind. He thought about his childhood on the colony world of New Seoul. His parents had been scientists, always busy with their research. They loved each other, but they also loved their work. Tae-min had learned from them that dedication meant sacrifice. When he was 20, the archives where his parents worked had been destroyed in an accident. Thousands of years of collected human knowledge had been lost in a single day. His parents had died trying to save some of the data. That day had changed Tae-min's life. He had promised himself that he would continue their work. He would make sure human culture survived, no matter what. And relationships? They were distractions. They made you vulnerable. They gave you something to lose. The next morning, So-ra came to visit. She was a small woman with short hair and a bright smile. "Breakfast," she announced, setting the box on Tae-min's desk. "And before you say you're too busy, remember that even machines need fuel." Tae-min couldn't help but smile. So-ra always knew how to break through his walls. "Thank you." They ate together in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then So-ra spoke. "Hyun-woo told me about your conversation last night." "Of course he did," Tae-min said. "He's worried about you. I am too." So-ra looked around the workshop. "This place is like a tomb, Tae-min. You're burying yourself alive in here. I'm doing important work. I know. But work isn't everything." So-ra reached across the desk and took his hand. "We care about you. We want you to be happy." "I am happy," Tae-min insisted. So-ra studied his face for a long moment. "Are you, really?" Tae-min pulled his hand back. "I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine. I know what I want from life." So-ra sighed. "Okay, I won't push. But promise me something." "What?" "If someone special comes along, someone who really interests you, don't automatically say, no. Just Give them a chance. Can you promise me that? Taemin thought about it. It seemed like a harmless promise. After all, no one special was going to come along. He had made sure his life didn't have room for that. I promise, he said. Sora smiled and stood up. Good. That's all I ask. After she left, Taemin went back to work. He spent the afternoon cataloging old Earth movies. There was something sad about watching these stories of love and loss, knowing that the people who made them had been dust for hundreds of years. In the evening, he went to the station's observation deck. It was his one indulgence, the one time each day when he allowed himself to stop working. He would stand at the large windows and watch the stars. Nexus 7 orbited a binary star system, and the view was spectacular. Ships came and went constantly, carrying goods and passengers from 100 different worlds. The galaxy was full of life, full of different species and cultures. An elderly alien stood nearby. She was a Kelnar, a species known for their long lives and wisdom. She had silver skin and kind eyes. Beautiful, isn't it? She said to Taemin. Yes, he agreed. I've been watching the stars for 300 years, the Kelnar said, and I never get tired of it. 300 years. Taemin tried to imagine living that long. What would it be like to watch generations pass? To outlive everyone you loved? Do you have family? He asked. The Kelnar's expression grew sad. I did. A husband. Children. Grandchildren. But they're all gone now. Kelnar live much longer than most species. It's both a gift and a curse. I'm sorry, Taemin said. Don't be. I had wonderful years with them. The pain of loss is worth the joy of love. She looked at him carefully. You're young. Why do you look so lonely? Crow. Taemin was surprised by the question. I'm not lonely. I'm just focused. The Kelnar smiled. I've lived long enough to know the difference between solitude and loneliness, young one. You're running from something. Before Taemin could answer, she walked away, leaving him alone with his thoughts. That night, in his small quarters, Taemin lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He thought about Hyunwoo and Sora's concern. He thought about the Kelnar's words. He thought about his parents and the promise he had made to their memory. Was he lonely? No, he told himself. He was dedicated. There was a difference. But deep down, in a place he rarely allowed himself to examine, Taemin wondered if maybe everyone was right. Maybe he was hiding. Maybe his dedication was just fear, wearing a different face. He pushed the thoughts away and closed his eyes. Tomorrow he would return to work. Tomorrow he would continue his mission. That was what mattered. He had no way of knowing that tomorrow would change everything. The message came early in the morning. Taemin was drinking his coffee when his computer beeped with an urgent notification. Station Command wanted to see him immediately. This was unusual. Taemin kept to himself and rarely dealt with station officials. He wondered if he had done something wrong. Maybe his workshop was using too much power. Maybe he had accidentally broken some regulation. He arrived at the command center 10 minutes later. Commander Park, a stern woman with gray hair, looked up from her desk. Taemin, thank you for coming so quickly, she said. We have a visitor who specifically requested to meet with you. Me? Why? She's from Drakor, the crystalline world in the Outer Rim. Her species is called the Drakorians. They're very advanced, very old, and very selective about who they work with. Commander Park pulled up an image on her screen. She wants a human consultant for a cultural preservation project. She asked for the best. Your name came up. Taemin felt a flutter of pride despite himself. What kind of project? She'll explain. She's waiting in conference room 7. Commander Park's expression softened slightly. Taemin, the Drakorians are important allies. Please be polite. Taemin nodded and made his way to the conference room. His mind raced with questions. What could a species, as advanced as the Drakorians, want with human expertise? He opened the door and stopped in his tracks. The being inside was unlike anything he had ever seen. She was tall, at least 7 feet, with scales that shimmered like diamonds in the light. Her body was humanoid but clearly reptilian, with elegant features and large, intelligent eyes that glowed with a soft amber light. 2 small horns curved back from her head, and her hands ended in delicate claws. She was magnificent. "You must be Tae-min," she said. Her voice was deep and musical, with an accent he couldn't place. "I am Kiraseth. Thank you for meeting with me." Tae-min found his voice. "It's an honor. Please, sit down." They sat across from each other at the conference table. Up close, Tae-min could see tiny patterns in her scales, like frost on a window. Her eyes studied him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "I have heard much about your work," Kiraseth said. "You have dedicated your life to preserving human culture. This is a noble pursuit. Thank you. But I'm curious why you would need my help." "The Dracorians are known for having excellent archival systems." Kiraseth tilted her head, a gesture that seemed almost bird-like. "We do, but we are trying to understand other species better. My people live for many centuries. We see time differently than most. Humans, however, live short lives, but create so much in that brief time. Your culture changes rapidly, evolves constantly. We want to study this phenomenon, and you want me to help organize human cultural materials? More than that, I want to understand the human perspective on mortality and legacy. You see, my mate died 60 Earth years ago. By Dracorian standards, that is not long, but I have noticed something interesting. Humans grieve differently. Humans remember differently. I want to understand this. Part. Tae-min felt a pang of sympathy. "I'm sorry for your loss." Kiraseth's eyes dimmed slightly. "Thank you." His name was Vordan. We were together for 200 years. We had planned for many more. 200 years. Tae-min couldn't imagine being with someone for that long. His longest relationship had been 6 months, back when he was in college. "What happened?" he asked gently. "An accident during a research expedition. It was quick. He did not suffer." Kiraseth's claws tapped lightly on the table. "But I did. I continue to suffer. This is why I want to understand how humans process loss. Your species has such short lives, yet you seem to accept death more easily than we do. Well, this is why." Well, Tae-min wasn't sure that was true. Humans struggle with death too. We just don't have as much time to struggle. Exactly. And yet you create. You love. You build relationships knowing they will end soon. This fascinates me. Kiraseth leaned forward. "Will you work with me?" "Tae-min, I can offer excellent compensation." And the project would only last 3 months. 3 months working with a Dracorian scholar. It was an amazing opportunity. Tae-min felt his excitement building. "Yes," he said. They spent the rest of the day discussing the project details. Kiraseth would stay on Nexus 7 and work in Tae-min's workshop. She wanted to review human literature, music, and art, focusing on themes of love and loss. She wanted to understand how humans created meaning in their short lives. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a comfortable routine. Kiraseth would arrive each morning, and they would work together until evening. She was incredibly intelligent and asked thoughtful questions about everything. Tae-min found himself enjoying her company. She didn't push him to socialize or ask personal questions. She simply shared his passion for preservation and understanding. One afternoon, they were reviewing old Earth poetry. Tae-min read a poem about a man who had lost his wife. The words were simple, but powerful. "Humans write so much about love," Kiraseth observed. "Why?" Tae-min thought about it. "Because love is important to us. It gives life meaning. But love causes pain, The poem you just read is full of suffering. Why seek something that will inevitably hurt you? Because the joy is worth the pain, Taemin said. Then he paused, realizing he was repeating what the Kelnar woman had told him. Kiraseth noticed his hesitation. You say this, but do you believe it? The question caught Taemin off guard. I don't know. I've never really tested it. You have never been in love? I've dated people. But I never let it get serious. My work is too important. Kiraseth was quiet for a long moment. I understand. After Vordan died, I threw myself into my research. Work became my shield against grief. But it is a poor substitute for connection. Maybe, Taemin said. But it's safer. Safety is not the same as happiness. That night, Hyunwoo and Sora invited Taemin to dinner. Kiraseth came too. At Taemin's suggestion. He wanted his friends to meet her. Sora was fascinated by the Dracorian. Your scales are beautiful. Do they change color? Slightly, based on my emotions, Kiraseth replied. Right now, they are peaceful blue. When I am happy, they become more golden. Hyunwoo asked about Dracor, and Kiraseth described her home world. It was a place of crystal cities and vast libraries, where knowledge was valued above all else. It sounds lonely, Sora said softly. All that knowledge, but spread over such long lives. Don't you want companionship? Kiraseth's scales shifted to a darker blue. I had companionship. I had love. And I lost it. Now, I have my work. Taemin saw himself reflected in her words. They were the same, he realized, both hiding behind their work. Both afraid to risk their hearts again. After dinner, Taemin walked Kiraseth back to her temporary quarters on the station. Your friends are kind, she said. They care about you very much. They worry about me, Taemin corrected. They think I'm wasting my life. Are you? Taemin stopped walking. I don't know anymore. A month ago, I would have said no. But lately, I've been questioning things. Kiraseth turned to face him. In the dim corridor light, her scales glowed softly. What changed? You, Taemin said honestly. Talking with you, I see how similar we are, and I wonder if we're both wrong. If we're both using work as an excuse to avoid living. Kiraseth reached out and gently touched his shoulder with one clawed hand. Perhaps we are, but knowing the problem and fixing it are different things. How do we fix it? I do not know, but I think we help each other find out. As Taemin walked back to his own quarters that night, he felt something strange. For the first time in years, he felt hope. Not just for his work, but for himself. He thought about Kiraseth's amber eyes, her thoughtful questions, her gentle wisdom. He thought about how easy it was to talk to her, how comfortable he felt in her presence, and he realized, with both excitement and fear, that he was starting to care about her. Not just as a colleague, but as something more. 2 months had passed since Kiraseth arrived at Nexus 7. The project was going well, but something deeper had developed between Taemin and the Dracorian scholar. They spent nearly every waking hour together. They talked about art and music, about human philosophy and Dracorian wisdom. They shared meals, took walks on the observation deck, and slowly opened up about their pasts. Taemin told her about his parents, about the fire that killed them, about his promise to preserve human culture. Kiraseth listened without judgment, her scales shifting to sympathetic purple as he spoke. In turn, she told him about Vordan, how they had met as young researchers, how they had explored distant worlds together, how he had made her laugh even in the darkest times. The worst part is not the death itself, she said one evening. It is the emptiness after. I wake up and reach for him, and he is not there. I have a thought I want to share, and I turn to speak, and there is only silence. Taemin understood. That's why I never let myself get close to anyone. I saw what losing my parents did to our community. I decided it was better to avoid that pain entirely. But in avoiding pain, you also avoid joy, Kiraseth said gently. They were sitting in the workshop, surrounded by artifacts from 100 different human cultures. Outside the window, stars drifted past. Maybe, Taemin admitted. Kiraseth looked at him with those wise amber eyes. Are you, though? Or are you just slowly dying alone? The words stung because they were true. Taemin had built walls around his heart so high that no one could climb them. But those walls hadn't protected him. They had only isolated him. I don't know how to be different, he said quietly. Kiraseth moved closer. In the 2 months they had known each other, they had never touched except for that one time when she had placed her hand on his shoulder. But now she reached out and took his hand in her clawed one. Her scales were warm, warmer than he had expected. Her touch was gentle. Neither do I, she said. I have been alone for 60 years. I have forgotten how to open my heart. They sat like that for a long time, hands joined, not speaking. It was enough. The next day, Hyunwoo came to the workshop. You're different, he said. You're smiling. I haven't seen you really smile in years. Don't read too much into it, Taemin said. But he couldn't stop the smile from growing. It's Kiraseth, isn't it? You like her. Taemin wanted to deny it. But what was the point? Yes. I like her. I more than like her. But it's complicated. Love is always complicated, Hyunwoo said. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it. She's not even human, Hyunwoo. We're completely different species. So what? The galaxy is full of mixed species relationships. My cousin married a Centaurian. They're very happy. Hyunwoo sat down on a crate. The question is not whether it's possible. The question is whether you're brave enough to try. Am I brave enough? Taemin wondered. He had spent his life playing it safe, avoiding risks, protecting himself. But where had that gotten him? To a lonely workshop surrounded by the memories of people long dead. That evening, Kiraseth asked him to meet her on the observation deck. It was their favorite spot, the place where they often ended their days together. When Taemin arrived, she was standing at the window, her scales reflecting the starlight in beautiful patterns. Thank you for coming, she said. I have something important to ask you. Taemin's heart began to race. What is it? Kiraseth took a deep breath. Our project is almost complete. In 2 weeks, I will return to Drakor. But before I go, I need to know something. She stepped closer to him. Her eyes were bright with emotion, her scales shifting through colors, blue, purple, gold, back to blue again. In my culture, when we choose a life partner, we are choosing 2 things at once. We are choosing a home and a spouse. These concepts are not separate for us. Where we live and who we love are the same decision. Taemin listened, confused but intrigued. But I have been studying human culture for 2 months now, and I see that humans think differently. Humans can have a home without a spouse. Humans can have a spouse and still feel homeless. You separate these ideas. Kiraseth reached out and took both of his hands in hers. So I ask you now, Taemin of Earth, do you want a home, or do you want a spouse? Or do you want both? And would you want those things with me? With me? Would you want those things with me? The question hung in the air between them. Taemin felt his mind racing. This was it. He could retreat behind his walls, tell her it was impossible, return to his safe, lonely life. Or he could take a leap of faith. I don't understand, he said. What exactly are you asking me? Kiraseth's scales turned a nervous purple. I am asking if you would consider coming to Drakor with me, as my partner. I am asking if you would build a life with me, share a home with me, grow old with me. Well, in your case, grow old while I am still relatively young. But you understand what I mean. On the Stamboul. Calm. Taemin's heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. You want me to leave the station? Leave my work? Your work could continue on Drakor. We have the greatest libraries in the galaxy. You could preserve human culture there just as well as here. Better, perhaps. Kiraseth's voice was soft but urgent. But more than that, I am asking if you want to share your life with me. Not just work together, but truly be together. Why me? Taemin asked. You could have anyone. Why choose a human with a fraction of your lifespan? Taemin won. Taemin won. Taemin won. Taemin won. Kiraseth smiled, a gentle expression that made her look both ancient and young. Because you understand me. Because you have the same wounds I have. Because when I am with you, I feel less alone. Because you make me want to live again, not just exist. I make you feel that way? Yes. And I hope I make you feel something similar. Taemin thought about the past 2 months. How the world had seemed brighter with Kiraseth in it. How he had started to care about things beyond his work. How he had laughed more, felt more, lived more. You do, he admitted. You make me feel alive, but I'm afraid. Of what? Of losing you. Of loving you and having it end. My parents loved each other, and then they were gone. You loved Vordan, and now he's gone. Love seems to end in pain. Kiraseth pulled him closer. All things end, Taemin. You humans end faster than most. Your whole life is a brief moment compared to mine. But does that make your life meaningless? Does the fact that you will die someday mean you should not live? No, Taemin said. Then why should love be different? Yes, you will die long before I do. Yes, that will cause me pain. I will spend centuries missing you, just as I miss Vordan. But that does not mean loving you is wrong. It means loving you is precious. Taemin felt tears on his face. He wasn't sure when he had started crying. I've spent so long being afraid, he said. I don't know if I can change. You have already changed, Kiraseth said. The man I met 2 months ago would never be having this conversation. He would have run away already. 12 run. She was right. The old Taemin would have made an excuse, ended the conversation, retreated to safety. But he was still here, still listening, still hoping. I need time to think, he said. Kiraseth nodded. Of course. This is a big decision. But Taemin, before you go, I want you to understand something. My question, home or spouse, was not meant to confuse you. It was meant to make you think. Think about what? About what you truly want from life. Humans are unique in the galaxy because you can separate these things. You can build a home without love. You can love without settling down. But should you? Just because you can live a divided life does not mean you should. She released his hands and stepped back. Take your time. But remember, I return to Dracor in 2 weeks. After that, this offer expires. Taemin walked back to his quarters in a daze. His mind was spinning with possibilities and fears. Taemin didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Kiraseth's question. Do you want a home? Or do you want a spouse? The question seemed simple on the surface. But the more he thought about it, the more complex it became. For years, his workshop had been his home. The station had been his world. His work had been his purpose. But had he ever really felt at home? Or had he just felt safe? And a spouse? He had never wanted one before. The idea of tying his life to someone else's had always seemed like a trap. But now, thinking of Kiraseth, the word didn't sound like a trap. It sounded like a promise. Morning came, and Taemin went through his routine like a machine. Coffee, shower, work. But his heart wasn't in it. He kept thinking about the Dracorian woman and her amber eyes. Hyunwoo found him at lunch, sitting alone in the cafeteria, staring at his food without eating. You look terrible, Hyunwoo said, sitting down across from him. What happened? Taemin told him everything. About Kiraseth's question, about her invitation to Dracor, about his confusion and fear. Hyunwoo listened carefully. When Taemin finished, His friend was quiet for a moment. Do you love her? Hyun-woo finally asked. I think so. Maybe. I don't know what love feels like. Does being with her make you happy? Yes. Does the thought of her leaving make you sad? Yes. Do you think about her constantly? Yes. Hyun-woo smiled. Then you love her, you idiot. Taemin rubbed his face with his hands. But what if it goes wrong? What if I move to Dracor, and we realize we made a mistake? What if she gets tired of me? What if the station explodes tomorrow? Hyun-woo interrupted. What if you get sick? What if an asteroid hits Dracor? You can... What if yourself into paralysis? Taemin. At some point, you have to take a risk. Easy for you to say. You've always been brave. Hyun-woo laughed. Brave? I was terrified when I told Sora I loved her. Taemin thought about that. What would his life be like if he let Kiraseth leave without him? Would he go back to his old routine? Would he bury himself in work and pretend nothing had changed? No. He knew that wouldn't work anymore. Kiraseth had opened something in him that couldn't be closed again. Even if he stayed on the station, he would spend the rest of his life wondering what he had missed. That afternoon, Sora visited the workshop. She brought tea and cookies, and they sat together among the artifacts. Hyun-woo told me, she said, about Kiraseth's offer. Of course he did. Don't be mad at him. He's worried about you. Sora poured the tea. So am I. Everyone is worried about me. But no one can tell me what to do. No, we can't. This is your decision. Sora handed him a cup. But I can tell you what I see. I see a man who has been hiding for 10 years. I see someone who is finally alive again. And I see someone who is about to run away from the best thing that ever happened to him. You think I should go to Dracor? I think you should do what makes you happy. But Taemin, you need to understand something. Kiraseth is not asking you to give up your work. She's asking you to add something to your life, not replace it. Taemin sipped his tea. It was sweet and warm. What if I'm not good enough for her? She's lived for hundreds of years. She's seen so much. I'm just a human with a normal lifespan and limited experience. Sora smiled. She knows all of that. And she still wants you. Doesn't that tell you something? It did. It told him that Kiraseth saw value in him that he couldn't see in himself. That evening, Taemin went to the observation deck. He needed to think. And this place always cleared his mind. The old Kelnar woman was there again. She turned when she heard him approach. Ah, the lonely young man, she said. You look troubled. Taemin smiled sadly. I am. Someone I care about asked me to leave with her. To start a new life. And I don't know what to do. The Kelnar nodded knowingly. The Dracorian scholar. Yes, I have seen you together. You make a good pair. How can you know that? I am 300 years old, young one. I have learned to recognize love when I see it. She moved to stand beside him at the window. What holds you back? So, fear. She will outlive me by centuries. I will die, and she will be alone again. Yes, that is true. The Kelnar's voice was gentle. But let me tell you something. I had a partner once, many years ago. He was not Kelnar. He was human, like you. We had only 40 years together before age took him. Taemin looked at her in surprise. Only 40 years? But you live for hundreds. Yes, and those 40 years were the best of my long life. The Kelnar's eyes grew distant with memory. Would I trade them to avoid the pain of losing him? Never. Not in 1,000 lifetimes. But doesn't it hurt? Knowing he's gone? Every day. But the hurt reminds me that I loved and was loved. That is worth any pain. Taemin stood quietly, watching the stars. He thought about his parents. They had loved each other deeply, and their love had ended in tragedy. But would they have chosen differently? Would they have avoided each other to escape the pain? No. They had always told him that their love made them stronger, made them better. made their work more meaningful. Maybe that was what he had been missing. Maybe his work had felt hollow because he had nothing else in his life to balance it. Maybe preserving culture meant nothing if he wasn't living a full life himself. The next morning, Tae-min made his decision. He found Kira Seth in the workshop, organizing files. She looked up when he entered, and her scales shifted to a nervous blue. Tae-min, have you thought about my question? I have. And I have an answer. He crossed the room to stand in front of her. You asked if I wanted a home or a spouse, but I think you were wrong about something. Kira Seth tilted her head. Oh? You said humans separate these concepts, that we can have one without the other. And you're right. We can. But I don't think we should. Tae-min took her hands in his. I spent 10 years making my work my home, and it was empty. What are you saying? I'm saying your people have it right. A home without love is just a building. A spouse without a shared home is just a companion. But together they make a life. He squeezed her hands. I want both, Kira Seth. I want a home and a spouse. And I want them with you. Kira Seth's scales burst into brilliant gold, so bright that Tae-min had to squint. You will come to Drakor with me? Yes. I will come to Drakor. I will build a life with you. I will love you for as long as I live. And when I'm gone, you will remember me. And that will be enough. Kira Seth pulled him into an embrace. Her arms were strong and warm around him. Tae-min hugged her back, feeling a joy he had never known before. I will remember you, she whispered. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other, while around them the preserved memories of human culture looked on in silent approval. The journey to Drakor took 3 weeks. Tae-min spent the time getting used to the idea of his new life. He was leaving behind everything he knew. Nexus 7, his workshop, his routine, but he wasn't afraid anymore. Kira Seth was with him, and that made all the difference. They talked for hours during the journey. She told him about Drakorian culture, their customs, their way of life. He told her about human holidays, human humor, human dreams. My people will find you fascinating, she said one evening as they watched the stars streak past. We rarely see humans on Drakor. You will be quite popular. I'm not sure I want to be popular. I just want to be with you. Kira Seth's scales turned soft pink. You say the sweetest things. For someone who claimed to not understand love, you are quite good at it. When they finally arrived at Drakor, Tae-min was speechless. The planet was beautiful beyond description. Cities made of crystal rose from the ground like frozen music. The sky shimmered with colors he had never seen before. Everything seemed to glow with an inner light. Welcome home, Kira Seth said softly. Home. The word had never sounded so right before. Kira Seth's dwelling was in the capital city, built into a cliff face overlooking a valley of blue trees. Inside, everything was elegant and simple. There were rooms for sleeping, for working, for entertaining guests. And there was a large library filled with data crystals and ancient books. This room is for you, Kira Seth said, showing him a spacious chamber with windows overlooking the valley. You can set up your work here. I had shelving installed for your human artifacts. Tae-min looked around the room and felt emotion well up in his chest. She had prepared this for him. She had made space in her home, in her life, for him and his work. It's perfect, he said. Over the next few months, Tae-min settled into his new life. He continued his work, preserving human culture, but now he did it in partnership with Drakorian scholars. They were fascinated by humanity's rapid cultural evolution and eager to learn. But more than that, he built a life with Kira Seth. They cooked meals together, mixing human recipes with Drakorian cuisine. They walked in the crystal forests. They hosted dinner parties where Tae-min met her friends and told them stories about Earth. The other Drakorians were curious about their relationship. Mixed species partnerships were not common, and a Dracorian with a human was almost unheard of. One evening, they hosted a gathering for several of Kiraseth's colleagues. An elderly Dracorian scholar, named Reshtar, asked Taemin a direct question. Do you not worry about the difference in your lifespans? You will be gone in perhaps 50 or 60 years. Kiraseth will live for centuries more. Does this not sadden you? Taemin looked at Kiraseth, who was sitting beside him. Her hand was in his. Of course it saddens me, he said honestly. I wish I could be with her forever. But humans don't get forever. We get now, and I would rather have 50 good years with Kiraseth than live forever alone. Another scholar, a younger female named Lyra Ven, spoke up. This is what I find most remarkable about humans. You live such brief lives, yet you love so fiercely. You know everything will end. What choice do we have? Taemin asked. If we waited for guarantees, we would never do anything. Life is uncertain, so we embrace the uncertainty. Reshtar nodded slowly. There is wisdom in that. We Dracorians live so long that we often wait too long. We delay decisions, avoid risks, because we think we have time, but sometimes time runs out anyway. The conversation continued late into the night. Taemin found himself explaining human philosophy, human courage, human hope. And as he spoke, he realized something important. This was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not technology, or weapons, or wealth, but the ability to love fully, despite knowing that love would end. The courage to build homes knowing they might crumble. The strength to make connections even when those connections were temporary. Humans thrived not because they lived forever, but because they made the most of their brief time. A year passed. Then, too, Taemin's work flourished on Drakor. He established the first human cultural center on the planet, a place where other species could learn about Earth and its people. More humans began to visit Drakor, drawn by tales of Taemin and Kiraseth. Some stayed, finding partners among the Dracorians. Others brought their families to see the crystal cities. Hyunwoo and Sora came to visit during the second year. They marveled at the beauty of Drakor and were happy to see Taemin so changed. You were right, Taemin told Sora as they walked through the crystal forests. About everything. I was hiding. I was afraid. But Kiraseth helped me find courage I didn't know I had. Sora smiled. We didn't do anything. You found your own courage. You just needed a reason to use it. On their last evening on Drakor, the four of them, Taemin, Kiraseth, Hyunwoo, and Sora, sat on the balcony watching the double sunset. The sky turned colors that Earth had never seen. I have a question, Hyunwoo said. Taemin, do you ever miss Nexus 7? Do you ever regret leaving? Taemin thought about it. Did he miss his old workshop? The routine? The safety? No, he said finally. I don't regret it. That was a home without love. This is both. I would choose this every time. Kiraseth's scales glowed warm gold in the fading light. She leaned against him, and he put his arm around her shoulders. 5 years after arriving on Drakor, Taemin received a message from the Galactic Council. They wanted to know if he would be willing to speak at their annual summit about cross-species relationships and cultural exchange. He accepted. Standing before representatives from 100 different worlds, Taemin spoke about his journey. He talked about fear and courage, about safety and risk, about the choice between existing and living. Humans are not the strongest species, he said. We are not the smartest or the longest lived. But we have one quality that makes us unique. We know we are temporary, and we love anyway. We know we will die, and we live anyway. We know homes can crumble, and we build anyway. He gestured to where Kiraseth sat in the audience, her scales shimmering with pride. Some people ask me if I am afraid of dying and leaving Kiraseth alone. Yes, I am afraid. But I am more afraid of never having loved her at all. That is the human way. We do not wait for perfect conditions. We do not demand guarantees. We simply love, with everything we have, for as long as we have. We have with not we have. We have with not with everything. We have with not with not. We have with not with everything. The chamber was silent when he finished. Then, slowly, applause began. It started with the human delegation, then spread to other species. Even the normally reserved Dracorians clicked their claws in approval. That night, in their home on the Crystal Cliff, Taemin and Kiraseth lay together, looking at the stars through their bedroom window. "Do you think your parents would be proud?" Kiraseth asked softly. Taemin thought about his mother and father, about their dedication to preserving knowledge, about their love for each other. "Yes," he said. "I think they would. I am doing their work, but I am also living my life. I think that would make them happy." Kiraseth turned to look at him. "I want you to know something. When you are gone, when your time comes to an end, I will grieve. I will grieve deeply, but I will not regret. These years with you have given me more joy than the centuries before." "We still have time," Taemin said, pulling her closer. "Decades, hopefully. Let's not waste them worrying about the end." "Agreed. Let us live now." And they did. They lived fully, loved completely, and built a home that was more than a place. It was a shared life, a chosen family, a testament to the courage it takes to open your heart. Years later, when other humans asked Taemin for advice about leaving Earth or taking risks, he would tell them about Kiraseth's question. "She asked me if I wanted a home or a spouse," he would say. "And in answering, I learned that the best lives are not built on safety. They are built on love. They are built on taking the leap even when you cannot see the landing. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us strong. Not our technology. Not our weapons. Not our ships or our cities. But our willingness to love across boundaries. To build homes in strange places. To make families from impossible connections. That is humanity's gift to the galaxy. And it is the greatest gift we have." In the crystal cities of Drakor, under alien stars, Taemin had found what he had been searching for all along. Not just a home, not just a spouse, but a life fully lived, a heart fully opened, and a love that would echo through the centuries long after he was gone.